When I was a kid, I was blessed to have maybe even more adult friends than I did friends my age, especially after a certain point. And so I wound up understanding things that some of my friends didn't from a very young age. My first boyfriend, he he was wealthy. I grew up in an area where everybody was well off, but he was wealthy. His family was wealthy and really wealthy. And so he ended up trying to be, after a certain point, everything that anybody else wanted of him. And I don't entirely know why. Because when he was with me, he was 100% himself all the time, to a fault. That was something that we loved about our relationship, was that we could be 100% ourselves to a fault with each other. But at some point, we broke up and things changed. And watching him throw money at people was hard. And it really started getting me thinking about how we do this all too often. One of the worst things you can do in a relationship, whether it be with friends or with a partner, is be something you're not and then wind up resenting people because you feel like they use you. And I watch so many people do this in so many different ways. He's just the first of many that I can think of when I think of this. We find ourselves getting into these traps where we think that nobody's going to like us for who we are. Or especially, for instance, if you're someone who has money, you think that you can buy people's love. But even when it's not with money, so often, like I said, whether it be friendships or otherwise, we think we can buy people's love. And it's just not the case. Just the other day, I had someone I was talking to who was sitting there saying verbatim, I give this person so much. Why couldn't they just do this little thing for me? And that's the thing, is that it doesn't matter if you shower somebody with love. If they can't love you, they can't love you. They're only going to be able to meet you as deeply as they can meet themselves. Anybody is only going to be able to meet any. Did I say that right? No matter who you're dealing with. The people, anybody. Yeah, anybody. Anybody, whether that be you or someone you meet, is only going to be able to meet those around them as deeply as they can meet themselves. So, when we find ourselves in a position where we feel this need to shower people with more love, affection, care, gifts, money, whatever it may be, than they deserve, you're only going to find yourself heartbroken, because relationships, real, actual good relationships, are very much dependent on a reciprocity. In the Kara tradition, we call it Aini, the sacred reciprocity. All things in the universe that are good and pleasant and filled with joy and love, you'll notice that they share one thing in common, and it is a secular flow. That doesn't sound right. Circular flow of reciprocity. Cyclical. That's the word I was looking for. A cyclical flow of reciprocity. And for those of you who don't entirely understand, reciprocity, as we call it, Aini, is the equal and opposite exchange of energy. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be a one-for-one trade of identical things. For instance, just to give you a stereotypical example, a husband could go out to work all day while the wife stays at home with the kids and cooks. And if for both of them, they are fulfilled in what they do, and what they do also fills the holes equally for the other person, that can be an equal opposite exchange of energy. That can be an Aini, a sacred reciprocity. It's just, no matter what you're giving and receiving, whether it be love for love or money for something, something for money, it just in value has to be an equal exchange. So when it comes to relationships, if you are not being as fulfilled as you are filling them, or they're not being fulfilled as you are being filled equally, the relationship isn't going to work. And if you try to approach relationships with this sort of codependent approach of, so many people don't realize that codependency in the grand scheme of things is not about necessarily helping other people, but the need for other people to want you. And so we fill this space where love should be with things, and then expect people to reciprocate. And if a relationship really is worth it, then the exchange back and forth is going to feel even and balanced, and neither one is going to feel taken advantage of. So we just want to be so careful when we find ourselves surrounded by people and lonely, that we're not trying to fill a void that is either within us, with outside things, or we're trying to fill someone else so that we can get love in return. when they don't love themselves enough to offer any sort of love in return. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. I am about to start round 3 of my intuitive lifestyle course over on Patreon. All you have to do to join us for round 3 of my intuitive lifestyle course on Patreon is sign up on Patreon for either an ascending, sanctuary, or enlightening tier membership. And from there you will get all the information you need. And if you're really excited and ready to jump in, there's round 2 replays already available. We are going to get deep into the practical, simple steps when it comes to tapping into our intuition and being able to lead ourselves from our higher self, rather than constantly feeling the need to listen to all that outside clutter that doesn't serve us. And that's not to say that once we've tapped into our intuition that we won't ever get help from anyone else ever again, but we'll know when to ask for help and when to rely on ourselves, along with many, many other different things that lead up to being able to really hear yourself from within, having decluttered all of that noise without. I find so many people have this perception that in order to really tap into your intuition, you have to have been born with some sort of magical gift or have some sort of third eye activation, meditation, or ritual work for you. And that's just not the case. There are some very amazing practical things that starts allowing you to really hear yourself. And you start to realize that you just weren't asking the right questions. It wasn't that you didn't have it in you. It wasn't that you couldn't hear it, so much as you just weren't asking the right questions. We are also about to get into the next round of my spirituality series, Spirituality 2.0. That is something else that you will get when you sign up on Patreon for one of my Ascending, Sanctuary, or Enlightening tier memberships. Don't forget to check out all of the links in the description. That includes my mailing list, email, sign up, just 1 email a month, that's it, with all the latest and greatest on how you can get in on my free meditations and workshops and what's new. And if you're really ready to heal, grow, and expand, I want to help you do that. And all you have to do to connect with me is sign up for my free clarity call or shoot me an email. May the energy you serve you well. Let's keep making our way through.